So we're going to begin supine. So we're going to plant the feet flat. Lie back down. Center your head. And just find any comfortable spot on your torso for your hands. Anytime you feel ready, you can just let your eyes gently close. Which, as always, complicates matters in that you're not able to easily reference the screen with closed eyes, which, of course, I know. But that's okay. Nothing to see right now. In fact, we're using a whole different modality. Feeling. Just cognizing, specifically feeling. And one feeling you can just explore. It's just how your body feels, whether it feels more on the restless side or on the sleepy side. Calm or agitated. Sort of get a sense of whether you're attracted to how it feels right now, or whether there's a bit of sense of repel, or if it just feels neutral. It's just assessing the feeling tone right now. Let's drop into the qualities, specifically the qualia. It's that inner subjective felt experience. It's the conscious lights turned on as we know them. So apply your consciousness to the sensations of breathing. Be aware. So just for the last minute, be mindful to keep your attention. It's arguably more of a concentration practice on the sensations of breathing. But then be aware of awareness itself. Notice when other stuff bubbles up, physical sensations, a scratch, a thought, something other than breath awareness. Notice that. Notice how capable your mind is of delivering some kind of random stuff that you didn't seemingly plan on. And then thoughtfully, mindfully direct the attention back to breathing. So we're really hitting the bullseye of our yoga practice here. We've assumed a shape that is very deliberate and purposeful. It's both steady and easeful. We've embodied asana. We're embarking on a project where we notice breathing, pranayama. We turn the sensations inward, pratyahara. We focus attention on the sensations of breath. It's concentration. And we're witness to, mindful to, notice when other stuff bubbles up. It's our meditation. And then we come back to the sensation of breathing. So as we close here, just notice, where does your mind go when it drifts away from breath sensations? And can you gently come back? Last minute. So, please come to lie on your side. Why don't you go ahead and come to lie on your right side. I don't think I need a mirror for this guy. The cues will make sense. All right. So as you come to lie on your right side, you're going to have a flex at your hips, right? It could be here, could be here. Let's have it so the knees are a little higher up than the waist, a little higher up than the hip crease. Yeah? And here, the knee bend, it can be pretty full, where your heels come almost all the way to the back of the hamstrings. Okay. Then we're going to lay one hand on top of the other, and we're going to lay the head down. Oh. And just start nice and easy. But we're going to reach the left arm up to the ceiling, sky. Oh my God. And then just a few degrees further back. And the head turns pretty much with the arm. And then we'll come back to the reset point. So you're not trying to give these first few all of your gusto. You're just warming up to it. It's really our first movement. Just open up gently. We'll try about 8 to 10 of these. Now we've set ourselves off at a course where the arms start, if we were thinking of a clock face around our mat, they start around 9 o'clock on the clock. They go up, if the clock were three-dimensional, and then back toward 3 o'clock. All good. But it's also fun to take the arms a little lower, more like 8 o'clock, and then go back at a diagonal. Oh my gosh, that feels good. Wherein when you land back at your diagonal, you're closer to 2 o'clock. Try one more. One more! Awesome. We're going to switch sides. So back when people went to musical events, you know, people clamor at the end of a rock concert, one more, after a 2.5 hour show. So my close friend Kevin and I would often go see his brothers play. They were all three of his brothers were in a band. Every time, without fail, after song number 1, after the first song the band played, my friend would shout out, one more! Kind of like simultaneously complete put down and supportive. Anyway, so we're on side 2. We are putting flex in the hip. We're putting bend in the knees. We're actually aiming the knees a little higher than the hips. We're starting the arms out at, this would be at 3 o'clock on this side of the clock now. Super easy for these first few. We gave it some time, so we weren't trying to crank too hard on each rep. Eyes follow the hand. You're trying to really let your spine twist, even if this is a small amount of twist at this point, and then come back. That emphasis on twisting is in opposition to just reaching your arm. See what I'm doing here? My arm went a ways back, but I didn't twist my spine at all. So we want to twist. Oh. And we're going easy and gently into this fine twisting night. So we've set off on a fairly standard pattern, still a great movement. Not to discount the standard, but we're hitting the 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock pattern. And as I offered up on side 1, and it's just an option, but you're certainly welcome to explore it, starting with the arms at a lower angle, closer to your knees, and finishing the twist up at a diagonal. That feels really good. So let's try 2 more, whichever angle you're at. 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock, or 3 o'clock to 9. Or maybe you're even getting creative and finding your own slight modification. Oh my goodness. All right. So then we're going to come back onto our backside. And we're going to hug the right knee toward the chest. And we're going to pick up the sacrum, kind of the center of gravity under the low part of our back, and just fish it a little bit to the right, just barely. It's a small adjustment. And then we're going to let this right side of our hip, right side of the low back, right thigh, right knee, twist. I personally like to have my hand on the knee. It just feels kind of like a good spot for it. And I also like to have my foot hooked on my knee, so the leg doesn't feel like it's dangling. Now we're going to stay in this twist for about 1.5 minutes and explore 3 neck, 3 arm shapes. Numero uno. Let's reach the arm out to the right. And let the head turn away from the arm. Let's keep the arm where it is, but let the head turn toward the arm. Okay? Then let's center the head and reach the arm overhead along the ear. And then the last phase, everybody, you're going to let the head turn left toward the bent leg that's been twisted the whole time. And then you're going to let your arm reach down your backside like you were reaching toward the foot section of your mat. Really reach down. Oh my God, that feels good. All right, to come on out of this one, ease back to center with your hip and your knee and your back. Do a quick little reset, 2 knees in. And then a slow journey with a few different adjustments. We'll extend the right leg along the floor, hug the left leg in, Apanasana. Open that left arm out like a wing. You can even start out looking in that direction. Sacrum, she lifts up, goes to the left an inch or 2. And then there's some twist. Not trying to crank into it, and not trying to minimize how much you let your pelvis dip forward. So you don't want to merely dump into your waist by overarching your low back. There's a little arch, but you want to really manifest some twist. Let's just stick with the one head arrangement per arm arrangement. So we'll look toward outstretched arm. First few breaths. Phase 2. I feel like I'm getting to it quickly here. Oh my gosh. The arm sweeps up along the ear and you center the head. So looking up. And then the last phase, everybody, you sweep the arm down toward the foot side of your mat, down toward your tail. Oh, and you let the head turn away. Oh. All right, everybody, to come back, you just bring that knee back, hips back, center your back, and let's hug both knees in. Whew. So from here, we're going to set one foot flat on the floor. Draw one knee so it sits just right on point. Knee above hip, foot out from knee. So if I straighten this guy, you can see this guy's pretty much just like a clean right angle, right? Clean right angle. Now from that clean right angle, you're going to place your hands on your thigh so you can see your lovely nails. And push. So you have two forces that meet each other. Hip versus torso. Low abs plus hip plus leg trying to come this way. Upper abs plus arm trying to go that way. Oh. Release. Such a good one, so simple, but yet it's robust. All right. It's got brio. So, right angle. It's a weak spot for me, so sometimes it induces a cramp. All right, so we're directing forces in opposite but equal directions. Equal and opposite. And release. A couple more times. Side one, push. Release. Side two, push. Release, side one, push. Oh. Release. Hopefully you get like a little response somewhere in your abdominals. I was starting to actually get a tiny bit of shake. Last couple. And finally, let's try one more per side. And release. Ooh. Next, let's bring the hands behind the head. With the head down, point your elbows up. With your head heavy in your hands, barely lift your head up. Now, this seems counterintuitive because we lifted the head, but see if you can find, and I know I've been cueing this a lot the last few sessions, a little strategy where there's a slight tuck in the chin. In hopes that it creates a little more length in the back of the neck. And then release. Elbows too. So 2 more times. This is real simple stuff. You just point up elbows, lift up head, experiment with the chin tuck. It's very refined, like just a degree. And see if it manifests length through the back. Release, release. Last one. Lift, lift. Now this should be a small enough lift in the head that you haven't really burdened the abdominals much yet. And then release. Okay. So that's how we want to hold the head for these next few, right? It stays kind of on its same trajectory off the rest of the back. The arms do a lot of the heavy lifting. But now we're going to bring up some shoulders, so it's going to put a lot more action into the upper abdominals. Yeah? So, elbows up first. That tiny little chin tuck plus a tiny little head lift. Now the head kind of stays at the same angle, but see, oh my God, see if you can lift your shoulder blades off the ground. My head, the angle didn't really change. Oh, and then release, and release. Does that make sense, y'all? So at the top, I'm not adding more lift by doing this. I'm adding more lift by doing this. Yeah? All right. So let's try about 6 or 8 of those guys. Elbows, head, shoulder blades. Release. Elbows, head, shoulder blades. Two more. Last one. Oh my goodness, let's release all of that. It's a good one. All right. I know it's very simple, very basic, somewhat old school, but just when you get those little refinements right, that's a nice, safe version of kind of a classic abdominal exercise, but still hardy. All right. So let's try the following, everybody. We're going to bring both legs up to that tabletop shape. We're going to bring both hands up to the thighs. Oh my God. Without the assistance of the hands, we're going to see if we can just do that barely lift the head business and resist. And release, release. So you're going to stay on your back. Pep talk. We've been training for this guy, right? All right. So you're going to have that double knee bend or the 180 degree angle. That's going to, and you're going to draw the knees in. That's going to create a lot of low abdominal work. Then you're going to be pushing. That's going to create a lot of upper abdominal work. Kind of refined how to get that head lifted. So that's going to happen. We'll just put it all together a couple times. Ah. Whew. All right. So last movement in this direction. Let's take the hands back behind the head one more time. Let's bring that tabletop shape back into the legs one more time. We'll lift the head strategically. We'll lift the elbows. And we'll lift the shoulder blades. Oh, goodness. And then we'll get a little diagonal charge, an elbow toward an opposite knee, come back. Diagonally, elbow toward opposite knee, come back. So as you notice, I'm trying to lift, like I did earlier, upper back, not just head. I'm aiming toward the bent knee, but I'm giving the other leg a little chance to straighten and reach. One more. First side. All right. Let's rock up. Nice work. Oh man. We were doing some abdominal work there. All right. Let's try the following. I didn't want to keep us on the knees for too long. I was thinking about doing a little sequence here, but I want to make sure we get off the knees. So let's shift to all fours. And tuck the toes and come just up off the knees. Now if you want a little more, you can tap. If you want it a little different, you can step. And if you want to coordinate lower and upper body, you can crawl. Right? So the tap is basically just like mock crawling with only your arms. The little step back and forth, just the mock crawl with only your feet, or you do the full crawl. Your dog, if you have one at home, will probably love that you're crawling around the house. All right, when you're back, let's lift it up into the downward facing dog, speaking of dogs. Now for about 10 big breaths, just let your body stretch out. We've done twisting. We've done all that abdominal strength from upper and lower and across at a diagonal. Now just get long and extended by lifting the tail up, but also back, relaxing the head down, but it sort of goes forward, that same strategy we've been working on. Pushing back through the inner thighs, dropping down through both heels. Okay. Let's close the gap between the hands and the feet. And then mindfully uncurl your way up. Oh, awesome. Okay. I don't want to beat this horse too much tonight, but one round, because it does create a different kind of force on us when we're standing rather than lying on our back. We can only do the one-legged version, obviously, but let's try this guy. Right? So we're going to come back to that 90-degree angle. You may have just started with your left side. You palm the thigh, and it's that same set of resisting forces. Now, your upper trunk and your arms work, and your abdominals work, but gravity gets to help them a little bit. your low abs, your hip, and your hip flexor that gets your knee up, got to work hard. They've got a lot more to resist against. And release. Oh, plus we've got a balance. All right, new side. So you got that right angle, ribs in, upper abs on, low abs on, resisting. Knees trying to come up to your rib cage. You're trying to keep it in check. Again. What's cool about these in the standing version is that all the work that's here in your trunk and your abs and this bent leg, there's also a bunch of work over here. Plus balancing exercise. And release. All right, mercifully we'll do this very last one. I feel like I could go on with this one. And release. Bueno. All right. So we're going to turn to a different type of balancing exercise. I've presented this one a couple times, but it's relatively new. So we are going to purposefully straddle a line. So I'm just using the edge of my mat for illustrative purposes, but you could, just as easily visualize a line down the center of your mat. Okay? Now you can have as much length between the legs as you want. So everything faces kind of tunnel vision down the long side of your mat. Not hyperbole. You could do this on a balance beam, assuming you can do it right now. Right? You're only taking up this much space. Yeah? Now we're going to bias the hips slightly forward. That didn't round the back. That just pivoted at the hips slightly forward. We're going to keep that neck strategy alive. Continuing to balance and sort that out. And we're going to reach the arms out like wings. Point up / point back with your thumbs. And reach. Oh my God. Now I could reach further back, and you probably could too, but if I did, I could only do it with that movement. If I keep all this buttoned, I'm out of room. Okay, and then release. Wow. Now we'll try it like up at 10 and 2 o'clock. Now here the shoulders are going to rise up a little bit. And the ribs will probably poke out a tiny bit, but you can restrain it so that it's not just boing, right? One more big breath here. Oh, and then release. Switch sides. So you're on that balance beam thing's like, oh, it's so easy. Why is this even a pose when we first get set up in it? But then when we're in it for 2 minutes, you can kind of feel how much your ankles and your feet have to do, and just all the regulating you're doing. So, tunnel vision, 10 toes, 2 knees, 2 hip points, shoulders, everything straight ahead. Slight bias forward with your hip. Arms down along your side. Ribs in. Neck strategy in place. Same thing. Arms out. So you're trying to reach them backward, just with all those other strategies implemented. And then release, and then upward. Release. One more outward. Basically the letter T, 9 and 3 o'clock. Oh. if you're keeping abs on, it's a lot of work. Last one. 10 and 2. And release. Ooh, back to center. Oh, that one's awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to start with this right leg over here, and you're going to externally rotate it. So you can see a lot of turnout in my foot. With the pants on, it's hard to tell what's going on exactly in the knee and the hip, but they're turning out as well. Then I'm going to let my trunk turn away from that seam. Then I'm going to take the hip and move it inward. You can see a little inward movement down in my foot, but I'm really trying to move in at the hip. And then I'm going to twist toward that. So away from external, toward the internal, away from external, toward the internal. Let's switch. So we just did that 3 times. New side here. External rotation, lives in the hip, lives in the shin, lives in the foot. Spine twists away. Internal. Spine twists toward. Out. And out. It's kind of like double external. In, double internal. Out, out, inward, inward. Ooh, man. Release that. Another balancing exercise. This time let's lift up this left leg first. If possible, catch with your hand. Alternatives, yoga strap. Hadn't mentioned that before. Sometimes just having a wall, you can kind of get away with like a little more for the setup, and then maybe you can extract yourself from the wall. If you like a little more stretch to it, you can pin both arms back there. Couple more concentrated breaths here. Okay. Let's release. Just one time, new side. Catch. Remember, wall's an option, but then try to remove yourself from it so the balancing element comes into play. Because this guy isn't, it's all good. It doesn't need to. But this guy's probably not going to increase your heart rate a ton. You're not moving a ton of weight around. But we are facilitating some range of motion. And definitely working on this capacity to balance. And practice asymmetrical poses, or one-legged in this case. So we're focused, we're dialed in, totally, and as centered as possible. So last breath or two here. Okay. And then from here, everybody, let's release that. Awesome. So we are going to turn the feet out a little bit. I've widened them and I've turned them out. So it's 2 different movement patterns that we're going into. Wider legs and slightly turned out feet. And we'll bring the hands out in front and then just come down to a squat. And then come back up. So I don't have anything special really going on with the hands. I've just integrated them to just try to kind of bind the arms together. Technically, you could be holding onto weights or a kettlebell or a slightly different arm shape. That part's really pretty optional. I'm going to stick with this one. So we'll try about a dozen squats. And we can pretty much stick to some of those elements we've been practicing so far. Slight bias toward hinged forward at the hips. So my back isn't just flat, it's at a diagonal. But I haven't rounded the back or overarched the back either, or at least I'm trying not to. It's really just the deep hip hinge. And up. Trying to keep that little tiny tuck in the chin so the back of the neck stays long. On the ascent, it might help you to obviously push the heels down, but even a little sense the legs are kind of adducting, squeezing toward each other. Couple more goes. And this last one, pause at the bottom. And make your way to Malasana, the low squat. The one where the challenge is on from some other movement folks out there, one of whom I really like quite a bit. Can we eventually get to a 10-minute version of this guy? Not trying to push or pull anything once we get here, not trying to twist or stretch or move any weight around. Can we just be in a squat for 10 minutes? We'll work our way to 10 minutes exponentially, right? So that would mean tonight we're starting today with just 1 minute. And that 1 minute has nearly elapsed. All right. So from here, let's touch down. Take a little straddle with the legs. Drop them to one side so that you, oh my gosh. So you've got something like this little shin box going. That's a weird term, but right, this shin, not even this shin really, this thigh, and an imaginary shin right here, well then we'd have a little box. Then we're going to lean out toward that outstretched or the external left leg, whatever your external leg is. And then we're going to come, oh my God, come up and try to twist toward the internal leg. That's a toughie. This is basically like a version of what we did standing. One more round. Twist toward this external leg. Oh. At minimum, get upright. Maybe twist toward the internal leg. So the hip is coming in, the spine's coming in to meet it. Okay? And come back around and switch sides. Oh my gosh, that one feels good. Switch sides with your legs. So, got the new box-like formation here. Leaning into external, leaning into internal, twice per side. So here's our external side with a neutral spine. Then we go leaning, twisting into this external side. It's basically like pigeon pose. Oh. Then at minimum we try to get upright, neutral. Or, and if we can, lean into this, twist a little toward the internal side. So one more time through each direction. Twist to the external. Oh, definitely has elements of pigeon. And then finally to wrap it, upright or a little twist toward the internal. Oh, wow. That feels so good. Okay, then as you come back, circle the legs back to the center, and let's do one straddle. So this is called the Upavista Konasana. The legs are as wide as they can comfortably go, so you definitely get a little response through inner upper thighs. Backs of the knees push down, and then you've got three options. Just sit upright with it, because there could be all sorts of response already. Option 2, lean back with it. Option 3, lean forward. Ten breaths. And with that in mind, sort of by its very nature then, you want a version that you can be in for 10 breaths, so it's not absurdly intense. And certainly feel the body in this shape for these last 5 breaths, but also observe your breath moving in and out. Alright. When you've had a good 10 breaths, maybe even more, come back up to a seat. And then we will come back down to our backside. Extend one leg out at a time. Whether manually with your hands or just through head and neck adjustments alone, get that little strategy in play. One way to get the strategy is to put a little tiny pillow under your head, because that kind of does it. But you might have created over years of yoga practice a shape in your neck where you don't even need the pillow. But of course, avail yourself of it if you need it. Otherwise, just get that neck adjustment dialed. And the head can be right on your mat. And the arms just find a nice comfortable shape along your side somewhere. So in case any signals got crossed, y'all, we are sliding into Shavasana. Now, it seems unlikely that all your life's concerns will evaporate as a result of doing corpse pose. However, it's highly probable that for the next 4 to 7 minutes, there's nothing you need to attend to. There's no need to try to solve any problems or fix anything or enter a state of worry. Instead, you can relax. Rest. Digest. Peacefully allow yourself to be. Shavasana. Savatu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yana Prachodayata. Right. That's Gayatri mantra. So as you emerge from your corpse pose, everybody, just take your time to reconnect to a couple comfortable deep breaths. And as always, make that transition your own and comfortable. So rocking and rolling your way up, or pushing to the side and coming up, or even staying down for a little longer if you'd rather. All right. So to wrap, let's bring the hands to the heart. Feel a couple slow, deep breaths, move in and out. Totally optional for you, whether you want to externalize it, or just feel it, or hear it in your own mind's eye, your own internal mind's voice, really. Or let it go with all your vocal power. One Om. So let's take a big deep in breath. Namaste.